My family skipped my wedding day and casually said it's just a piece of paper. I agreed, then severed my financial support, leaving their chaos behind, and the following morning, their reality unraveled. I had always envisioned my wedding day, not as an extravagant event, but as a serene occasion in a garden, surrounded by wildflowers and the individuals truly significant to me. At 32, with Sam as my fiancé, I'd brought it to fruition, an intimate gathering, 20 attendees, and a veil I had personally sewn during restless evenings, every stitch a commitment. I requested straightforward items from my family, my mother, my brother Jake, my sister Cara, like a few portable seats, a musical selection, and a baked confection. They would affirm, assuring me, "Don't fret, we'll handle it." And I relied on them. However, the day prior, when I phoned to confirm, my mother lightly laughed. "Oh, darling, we didn't consider it significant, just a legal document." Jake interjected. "Indeed, calm down, it's not some fantastical event." My spirits plummeted. I stood in my kitchen, gripping my phone, gazing at the bouquet of wildflowers I had gathered from a meadow that morning. They had accomplished absolutely nothing, no seating, no melodies, no dessert. Then I spotted it on Instagram, them at my cousin Tara's bachelorette celebration, stretched limousines sparkle, raised champagne glasses, with a caption proclaiming, "Family first." I hadn't been asked, nor had I even crossed their minds. I suppressed the pain, feigned a grin, and informed Sam we would resolve it. We did. 10 companions appeared with various chairs from their storage spaces, and I approached him beneath a line of discount store lights that swayed gently in the wind. I uttered my vows, my voice strained, his hands firm in mine, and it was lovely, despite their absence. Yet that evening, solitary in our small flat, my emotional barrier gave way. I sat on the edge of our bed, still in my gown, and wept, not from the happiness of uniting with Sam, but from the profound anguish of being inconsequential to the relatives I had supported for a long time. They discarded my special day like refuse, and I couldn't erase that void, that acute, silent pang of feeling unnoticed by those to whom I had dedicated everything. I awoke the next morning with a profound weight I couldn't dislodge, the kind that settles deep after a night spent crying oneself dry. Sam remained asleep, his breathing soft beside me, and for a moment, I wished to pretend yesterday had never occurred. But my phone vibrated on the bedside table, drawing me back. I hesitated to look, knowing it would be them, yet I retrieved it regardless, my fingers trembling as I accessed our family conversation. I typed rapidly, before second-guessing myself. "You chose Tara's gathering over my wedding. I needed you there, and you weren't." My pulse pounded as I pressed send, anticipating some response, anything to rectify the situation. My mother's reply arrived first. "Don't overreact, dear. It's merely a formality, not a grand production." Kara's followed. "Honestly, we didn't imagine you'd get upset about it." "Relax." Jake's message was just a small indicator, mocking me from the display. I stared at their statements, my chest tightening, and something fractured. This wasn't solely about a missed occasion, it encompassed years of me giving my all, and them treating it as trivial. I recalled Jake's late-night calls, pleading for me to cover his rent when his DJ gigs dwindled, 600 here, 100 there, always accompanied by, "You're the best sister." Kara's sob stories about needing her phone bill settled after another breakup, $80 monthly, like clockwork. My mother's subtle hints about her medication when her income fell short, 150 wired without question. I had been their foundation, working additional shifts at the diner, foregoing holidays, telling myself that's what family does. And now my wedding, my singular moment, was merely a piece of paper to them. The hurt transformed into a searing, sharp anger, and I could no longer contain it. I composed one final message. "Thank you for clarifying my position." My thumb hovered over the send button, then pressed it before they could reply. I tapped the 3 small dots beside the chat name and selected "Leave group." The subsequent quiet felt like a deep breath I hadn't taken in years. But I wasn't finished. I opened my banking application, the screen's chill against my face. Jake's streaming account, linked to my card for 2 years, cancelled. Kara's most recent payment request, $50 with a fuel pump emoji, declined. My mother's automatic utility payment, the one I had arranged when she nearly lost power last winter, stopped. Each tap was a severing, cutting the ties they held around me. I felt no guilt, not as I had anticipated. Instead, my chest eased, as if I had been holding my breath for a decade and finally released it. I set the phone down, my hand now steady, and leaned back against the headboard. The room was still, just the distant hum of the refrigerator, and I realized I had been waiting for this, for permission to cease being their everything. Sam stirred then, rolling over with a sleepy gaze. "You all right?" he mumbled, his voice rough. I looked at him, his disheveled hair, the way his eyes softened when they met mine, and felt a flicker of something warm, something uniquely mine. "I will be," I stated, and truly meant it. He sat up, resting a hand on my knee through the blanket. "You don't owe them, you know. Not a single thing." His words resonated more deeply than they should have, because I had never allowed myself to believe them before. I had always thought affection meant depleting yourself, that kinship meant bearing their burdens, no matter how much it crushed you. But sitting there, with Sam's hand grounding me, I perceived it differently. They had taken my trust, my hours, my funds, even my wedding, and offered me crumbs in return. I nodded slowly, deliberately, and he drew me into his embrace. I didn't weep this time. I simply allowed myself to rest there, feeling the first genuine fissure in the barrier I had constructed to keep them in and myself out. It wasn't tranquility, not yet, but it was a beginning, a jagged, nascent edge of something new. The next morning arrived abruptly, not with clamor, but with a deluge of messages illuminating my phone before I had even poured my coffee. I sat on our worn sofa, Sam still in the shower, and observed the screen glowing with their desperation. Jake first. "Yo, streaming is down, what's up with your card?" Then Kara. "I can't get to work, I'm out of gas, send me $40 now." My mother's came last, her tone sharp. "My lights flickered all night and the heat's acting up. Why did you stop the payments?" I didn't reply. I simply stared at the accumulating messages, each one a little more frantic, and felt a strange, quiet thrill, as if I had activated a switch they didn't know I possessed. Sam emerged, a towel draped around his neck, and glanced at my phone. "They're losing it, huh?" he remarked, a faint smile playing on his lips. I nodded, placing the phone face down. "Let them," I said, and for once I truly meant it. I wasn't rushing to mend their disarray anymore. Then my phone chimed again, not a message, but a social media notification. I shouldn't have looked, but curiosity compelled me. It was Jake's story, a self-portrait with Tara, both grinning under vibrant club lights, captioned, "Real family shows up when it counts." The timestamp struck me like a physical blow, 8:47 p.m., precisely when I had been reciting my vows under those drooping lights, my voice trembling but certain. He had posted it last night, hours after I had exited the chat, as if he wanted me to see it. My throat tightened, and I scrolled through the comments, cousins liking it, a few yes and hard eyes emojis. No one mentioned me. No one inquired about my whereabouts. I had been erased not just from their day, but from their narrative, reduced to a mere footnote they could ridicule. I dropped the phone onto the cushion, my hands clenching into fists. Sam noticed my expression and sat beside me, his damp shoulder brushing mine. "What now?" he asked, his voice hushed. I showed him the post, and his jaw tightened. "That's low even for him," he commented. I leaned back, gazing at the ceiling, and allowed the anger to simmer. I could have messaged back, confronted them, but what was the purpose? They would distort it, claim I was overly dramatic, too sensitive, as they always did. Instead, I envisioned it, Jake scrambling when his entertainment wouldn't load mid-binge, Kara stranded at some fueling station, my mother fumbling with a flashlight when the electricity dipped. They had constructed their lives upon me, upon my extra income, my consistent willingness to assist whenever they faltered. And now, the foundation was giving way. I had spent years weaving their safety nets while they pranced on tightropes, never once glancing down to see who was holding the ropes. And what did I receive? A wedding they failed to attend, and a brother who preferred to flaunt for Tara than lift a finger for me. The Instagram post wasn't just adding insult to injury, it was a blade, and he twisted it with a smirk. Sam's hand found mine, warm and rough from his warehouse work. "They're not worth this," he stated, his thumb tracing circles on my knuckles. "You've given them enough." I turned to him, his hazel eyes steady, and felt a sharp pang, not just hurt, but something more intense. He was right. I had poured myself into them until I was empty, believing that was what affection looked like. But affection doesn't leave you invisible. It doesn't post selfies while you're pledging forever to someone else. I squeezed his hand back, harder than I intended. "I'm done carrying them," I declared, my voice firm for the first time in days. He nodded, pulling me against his side, and we sat there, the phone now silent, their pleas unanswered. Outside, the world hummed, cars passing, a dog barking down the street, but in here, it was just us, and the burden I had shed felt like a triumph. They could panic all they desired. I was no longer their rescuer. And that Instagram post? It only affirmed why I had ceased. The quiet after severing ties with them didn't feel real at first, as if I were holding my breath, anticipating the onset of guilt. It didn't arrive. Instead, I sat on our balcony that afternoon, a chipped mug of tea in my hands, and let my thoughts wander. I needed to comprehend how I had reached this point, how I had permitted them to deplete me until my wedding became merely a document. It began when I was 17, the year Dad departed. Mom was distraught, weeping into her coffee, bills accumulating. So, I found employment at the neighborhood shop, scanning cigarettes and confectionery after school. I would discreetly give her my earnings, saying, "It's fine, I don't need much." And she would embrace me, calling me her rock. Jake was 15 then, sneaking out to DJ basement gatherings, and Kara, 19, was pursuing some unreliable person who would wreck her car and leave her stranded. I was the one who maintained composure, the one who didn't collapse. By 21, I had saved enough for a dilapidated vehicle. While they floundered, Jake spinning tracks for empty venues, Kara oscillating between dead-end jobs and problematic boyfriends. The requests started small. "Can you spot me $100 for rent?" from Jake, or "I'm short on groceries, just this once," from Mom. I would agree, because they were family, because I could. But once evolved into always. I would take on additional shifts, forego social evenings, while they leaned more heavily. Jake's $100 became $1,000 when he swore he would achieve greatness someday. Kara's groceries transformed into $300 for penalties after she totaled her car while intoxicated, without insurance. My mother's utilities, her medication, her "just until I'm back on my feet." It accumulated. I ceased counting after $25,000, but I maintained a mental record, every late-night transfer, every "you're a lifesaver." That faded into silence. They would commend me. "You're the strong one, the glue." Until it was no longer praise, merely an expectation. When I met Sam at 29, something shifted. He saw me, not the problem solver, not the financial resource, just me. We constructed a life in our small apartment, and when he proposed, I allowed myself to desire something, a wedding, a day that was solely mine. I informed them about it over dinner one evening, my voice trembling with hope. My mother smiled thinly, stating, "That's sweet, but you'll manage it, right?" Jake smirked. "Sounds chill, no big deal." Kara didn't even glance up from her phone. I should have recognized it then. Their affirmations were hollow, their interest feigned. But I persisted, planning alone, requesting meager assistance they never intended to provide. Tara's wedding was different. Her third engagement, a spectacle of tulle and catering. They all RSVP'd without hesitation. I had transferred my mother $200 for fuel to attend, unaware it would be the same weekend I would need them. My day was too modest, too quiet, not sufficiently gleaming to matter. Looking back, I discerned the pattern. I had been their support for so long they forgot I could falter. Jake never succeeded. he crashed on friends' couches, messaging me for streaming passwords. Kara's predicaments worsened, DUIs, evictions, and I would resolve them, believing it proved my worth. My mother relied on me as if I were her second chance, not her daughter. They took my funds, my hours, my confidence, and offered me nothing but waiting. Sam altered that. He would prepare dinner for me after my shifts, inquire about my sketches, remind me I wasn't just a means to their ends. My wedding was my boundary, my first genuine assertion, and they couldn't even feign concern. Tara's night received limousines and cheers. Mine received shrugs and a slight on social media. I sipped my tea, the steam curling in the cool air, and realized I had been oblivious, not to their imperfections, but to my own value. I believed affection meant bleeding dry for them, that kinship meant bearing their failures on my back. But it doesn't. It never did. And out here, with the city bustling below and Sam's laughter drifting from inside, I knew I wasn't returning to that falsehood. 4 days after I severed the connection, they appeared unannounced, like an approaching storm. I was in the kitchen, dicing onions for dinner, when the doorbell rang hard and fast. Sam raised an eyebrow from the sofa, but I knew who it was. I wiped my hands, took a breath, and opened the door. My mother marched in first, her face taut with that disappointed teacher expression she had perfected. "This tantrum of yours has gone far enough," she snapped, arms crossed. Jake slouched behind her, hoodie up, sprawling onto my armchair as if he owned it. Kara entered last, tossing her bag on the counter with a huff, her eyes sharp. "You're seriously angry over a small gathering?" she said, her voice dripping with disdain. I stood there, knife still in hand from the cutting board, and felt the atmosphere thicken. They hadn't come to apologize. They had come to demand I rectify their disorder, as always. I set the knife down, slowly and deliberately, and faced them. "It wasn't a party," I stated, my voice low but steady. "It was my wedding. You chose Tara's night over me, after I've supported you all for years." I stepped closer, the words pouring out. "Jake, I've paid your rent, your subscriptions, thousands. Kara, your fines, your phone, your excuses. Mom, your bills, your medication. Every time you couldn't manage. I asked for one day, and you couldn't even show up." Their faces froze, taken aback, but I wasn't done. "You didn't forget. You decided I didn't matter." Silence hung heavily, and then Mom waved a hand as if she could dismiss it. "We sold your veil on eBay," she stated casually, as if she had pawned an old lamp. "Figured you were done with it after the fuss." My veil, hours of stitching, my quiet pride, gone for $25. My vision blurred, but I held my ground. Kara snorted, leaning against the counter. "And I used your venue deposit for Tara's gift," she added, smirking. "You weren't using it, so I got her that spa package. $1,200 well spent." My breath caught. That deposit was my savings, my trust, and she had taken it as if it were spare change. I gripped the counter's edge, fury boiling up. "You stole from me," I said, my voice shaking now. "Both of you." Jake finally looked up, annoyed. "Chill. It's not that deep. You're acting like we killed someone." Mom nodded. "You're blowing this out of proportion. We're family, not your enemies." I laughed, sharp and bitter, and it startled them. "Family?" I said. "Family doesn't abandon you, sell your belongings, steal your money, then act like you're the problem." Layla walked in then. She had been in the bathroom, heard everything. She stopped short, eyes wide, then stepped beside me. "You're unbelievable," she said, glaring at them. "You treat her like a damn ATM. And when she stops giving, you pull this, selling her veil, stealing her deposit?" Her voice shook with an anger I hadn't yet found. "You're not family, you're parasites." Mom snapped. "Stay out of this, Layla." But Layla shook her head. "No. I've watched her bleed for you, and I'm done." She grabbed her jacket and walked out the door, clicking shut like a gunshot. I turned back to them, calmer now, cold. "I'm not your bank anymore. I'm not your solution. Get out." They didn't move at first. Jake scoffed. You're going to regret this. Kara rolled her eyes, snatching her bag. So dramatic. Good luck without us. Mom lingered, her mouth opening as if she wanted to argue, then closed it. You'll come crawling back, she muttered, and followed them out. The door slammed, and the apartment became still. Sam stood up, crossing to me in 3 steps, his hands finding my shoulders. You okay? He asked, searching my face. I nodded slowly, the weight of their words, their actions, settling in. The veil, the deposit, their sense of entitlement. It wasn't just betrayal. It was theft, deliberate and cruel. But standing there, with Sam's warmth against me, I felt something solid. I had confronted them, named it, and sent them away. The sting was present, raw and deep, but so was a spark, a fierce, unyielding thing that declared I was done yielding. The days after their departure stretched into weeks, and their existence began to fracture, piece by piece, like a house of cards I had ceased upholding. Jake's electricity was disconnected. I heard from a mutual friend he was couch surfing again, cursing my name. Kara's vehicle was impounded after she couldn't afford the lease. She left me a voicemail, voice shrill. I'm stranded, this is your fault. My mother's phone went silent, her messages replaced by a single email. Heat's out, bills are accumulating. How could you do this? I didn't respond. I sat on our sofa, legs tucked beneath me, and let their words rebound off the walls without penetrating. Sam observed me from the kitchen, stirring a pot of chili, and remarked, They're learning to live without you. I nodded, a faint smile touching my lips. About time, I said, and felt it was true. Their disarray was no longer my burden. I had returned it, and they didn't know how to cope. But it wasn't all silence. Kara called again a week later, her tone softer, broken. I'm sorry. I messed up, okay? I shouldn't have taken that money. I listened, finger hovering over delete, and let it play out. I'm in a bind now, and I understand. I leaned too heavily. Her voice faltered, but I didn't call back. Jake took a different approach, posting a tirade on a social media platform. Some people abandon their own over trivialities. Loyalty is dead. He received 3 likes, 1 from Kara. My mother sent a letter, handwritten, shaky, stating, We're struggling, but we're still your family. Consider that. I folded it into a drawer, unopened after the first line. They wanted me to feel it, to surrender, but I didn't. I had spent years drowning in their guilt trips. This time, I remained on shore, dry and steady. Then the light appeared. Layla messaged me daily, initially memes then. You deserve a true celebration. She and Sam's brother Tom arranged a delayed reception, just 12 people, folding tables in Tom's yard, string lights draped like constellations. I wore jeans, Sam a flannel, and we danced to a playlist Layla had created, laughing when the speakers crackled. No one requested money or favors. They simply arrived, hands full of potluck dishes and embraces. Later, a package arrived at our door, no note, just a quilt, soft and blue, stitched with tiny stars. I knew it was from Mia, Jake's ex. She had always been kind, even when he wasn't. I draped it over our sofa, ran my fingers over the threads, and felt my throat tighten, not from pain, but from this quiet evidence I wasn't alone, not truly. Tara messaged too, unexpectedly. Sorry they're awful. I should have said it sooner. I replied. Thanks. And left it there, a small bridge I didn't need to cross yet. Their disorder continued to spin. Jake lost his DJ equipment to a pawn shop. Kara's job terminated her for no-shows. My mother's landlord sent warnings. But I didn't flinch. I walked our apartment one night, Sam humming behind me as he washed dishes, and felt the atmosphere shift. No buzzing phone, no late-night pleas, just us, our small life pieced together without their burden. I paused by the window, looking out at the streetlights flickering below, and realized I wasn't waiting anymore, not for their apologies, not for their change. Layla's laugh from that gathering echoed in my head, Mia's quilt warmed my hands, and Sam's voice drew me back to the present. I had built something small, imperfect, genuine, and they couldn't touch it. The veil was gone, the deposit too, but what they had taken no longer defined me. I turned to Sam, his sleeves rolled up, and joined him at the sink, bumping his hip with mine. "You're humming off-key," I teased, and he grinned, splashing me with suds. For the first time in weeks, I laughed, loud, free mine, and knew I had navigated their storm, not just intact, but stronger. It has been 8 weeks since I closed the door on them, and I'm not merely surviving, I'm alive in a way I never knew possible. The apartment is quiet now, no buzzing phone dragging me into their crises. Sam and I sway in the kitchen to vintage rock tunes, Mia's quilt draped over the sofa like an embrace. Layla stops by with paint swatches for our walls, insisting teal is my shade, and I've resumed sketching, wildflowers, faces, things I had forgotten I cherished. The sting of the veil remains, Kara's appropriation bites, Jake's post flickers in my mind, but I don't yield. I stand taller, shoulders relaxed, breathing easily. Kara's messages trickle in. "Hope you're okay. Miss you." But I don't reply, not out of malice, just clarity. I'm no longer her lifeline. Jake's social media rants about false kinship fade to silence, no likes to sustain him. My mother ceased reaching out, her absence pronounced but conclusive. I don't miss the burden they imposed upon me. If I have a child someday, I will tell them the truth. Affection is not a debt you owe. Family is not a restraint. I've built mine here. Sam's unwavering hands, Layla's fierce devotion, Tara's quiet amends, even Mia's quilted kindness. I'm not the financial resource, the problem solver, the invisible sibling. I am myself, whole for the first time. Last night, I stood in our bedroom, the lamp casting a gentle glow, and felt it, security. Not from promises or support, but from knowing I possess myself. They labeled me selfish, dramatic, cold, and I accepted it, bore their designations until I recognized them for what they were, falsehoods to keep me small. I am not the antagonist for choosing tranquility, for safeguarding this life I am constructing with Sam. I am the one who walked through their inferno and emerged unscathed. They are still out there, perpetuating their chaos, but it is no longer my narrative. I awaken feeling light, no guilt whispering that I failed them. Sam says I smile more, and he is right. I feel it, whole and liberated. I chose myself, and if that is the transgression they will never pardon, I will wear it with pride. This is my legacy, strength, a heart, a life that is truly mine. Thank you for watching the video. If this story resonated with you, please share your thoughts below. Your positive feedback may seem minor, but it provides me with the resolve to continue creating every single day. See you in the next video.